Just being authentic and unfiltered. I think that's what really worked for us. You see that this is real results.
Hey everyone, this is Nazar Akil from Max Pro.
Hi, I'm Lynda.
And I'm Paul.
And we're Love Pebble.
Hi, this is Lopa Vandermersch from Rasa.
And you're listening to...
And you are listening to the E-Comm Show.
Welcome to the Ecomm Show, presented by BlueTuskr, the #1 place to hear the inside scoop from other e-commerce experts, where they share their secrets on how they scaled their business and are now living the dream. Now, here is your host, Andrew Maff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Ecomm Show. I'm your host, Andrew Maff, and today I am joined by Lynda and Paul of Love and Pebble. Lynda, Paul, how you guys doing? You ready for a good show?
Let's do it.
Yes, we
are.
are.
Excited.
Awesome. I'm super excited to have you guys on the show. We've had several people who have been on Shark Tank before. We've had a lot of people in the beauty industry. It's always very interesting because no one runs their business the same way. So why don't I give you guys a minute here and let you tell us a little bit more about Love and Pebble, your background, and we'll go from there, okay?
Yeah, Love and Pebble started out in 2018. And honestly, like every business, we started out not knowing anything, right? So we launched and we started selling skincare tools. And we were exclusively on Amazon, and we started there learning that space. And that was our first real dive into the e-com space. And then one day I was sitting on the couch and I look over and Lynda is rubbing a frozen banana on her face. And I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, no, it really works. It really works. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me try it. So I tried it and I was like, wow, this is crazy, right? So since then, we knew we wanted to bring that to market. It took us 2 years of R&D, just tons of trials. We officially launched in March of 2021. And since then, it's been a roller coaster ride in 2021. I don't know how we're going to pass this year from last year, but we hit the ground running, like sold out like 5 times, Today Show, Cosmo, Shark Tank. We just acquired a deal with HSN. And it's just on top of that, right? The D2C, the direct to consumer, has just been crazy too. Us just like selling out because of our customer base. And so our product is called the Beauty Pops. That's what we're known for. It's the first ever icy facial. And after you use it, it melts into a skin-loving face mask. Totally innovative, totally new. This is what the beauty space needed because there's tons of like products being launched that are all the same. They're all serums. They're all, the same old cosmetic products. We are taking it like total other side and introducing natural products, freezing natural products at that. And that's kind of where we started.
Yeah, so we pretty much combined cryotherapy with skin mask, and we're actually launching like other types of products like serums and creams, but they're all going to be frozen. And there's a lot of benefits with icing your skin, like depuffing, helps with calm inflammation, soothes your skin. So we're pretty much bringing the two together, and that's what makes our products really different and innovative. And then we're going to be launching like other type of products like exfoliants and scrub and stuff so that it's like a whole line of.
Cool. So the story is crazy, and the amount of growth you guys have had in a year is unheard of. So it's obviously incredibly impressive. One of the things I'm interested in, so you had a frozen banana, you were rubbing it on your face, but I know that the actual Beauty Pop has multiple ingredients in it, all mostly like fruits for the most part. How did you come up with that formulation to test it and make it work?
Little did I know that frozen banana was one of many iterations and tests. I think we tested every single ingredient, right?
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of acne growing up, and so I would I would freeze aloe vera, or I would do turmeric face masks and stuff. So there were these ingredients that I knew really worked for acne and that helped calm like the inflammation, and that was antibacterial. So we tried a lot of different things, but I knew that these were the ingredients that I really wanted in there. So then, I had Paul look over the science behind it because he's a pharmacist. We got together with a chemist to make sure that all these ingredients were compatible, and like what would it look like, when it's frozen, and how do we mix it with water. So that all of that took a lot of time. That was like the 2-year process, but I knew that I wanted these ingredients. And yeah, we did try a lot of different ones. Like we did, other ingredients, but we have like other flavors that we haven't launched yet. So we're saving that for later, but it's not easy. Like making something that will, freeze and making sure the consistency is just right and that it is effective. So
Yeah. So where do you source most of your ingredients from that you're using this for?
So we partnered with a lab. They are pretty much FDA regulated. They're also GMP certified. So they help us source all of the ingredients. I mean, we look through all of the COAs just to make sure everything looks good. But yeah, they have really high standards, so they help us with sourcing everything.
And just to take it a step back, honestly, finding a manufacturer that understood what we were doing is close to impossible, but we did it.
Yeah.
The reason being the beauty space is the beauty space, and they know what to do. They do it a certain way. There's products that have X, Y, and Z, hyaluronic acid, the same old ingredients, vitamin C, niacinamide, the same old ingredients over and over.
When we were looking for like a manufacturer, it was really hard, but we knew that we wanted to keep it food grade and not have too many chemicals or any of like the controversial ingredients. We knew that we wanted to keep it very simple because nowadays people want to know what's in their product. So it's like less than 10 ingredients, everything that you understand. And, there are a lot of ingredients that like are controversial, and even for me, like now that I'm pregnant, there are a lot of things that I don't understand. I can't read, and I'm just like, technically there's nothing bad about it now, but what if years later we find out that this could be cancerous, or this could do some harm for my body or my baby or whatever. So we wanted to just make sure that it was there, like these ingredients were clean, natural, and effective and simple, like understandable.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, getting back to the main point that I was making before is like it was really hard to find a manufacturer that understood that, and not only to find those natural ingredients, but to have like natural ingredients that you could freeze. So honestly, our product took a lot of R&D, a lot of time, and we're actually excited because we're moving a lot of our formulation over to Korea, which Korea is like huge in skincare. They're totally innovative. They are probably like the innovators of the beauty spaces as America's starting to figure out. And so partnering with them will help us get out products quicker.
So that was going to be my question. So what was that process like in trying to, narrow down which manufacturer to go to? Because I know so many sellers that just go to the first one that's willing to make something close to what they were trying to make. And no one ever really does any kind of, well, I don't want to say no one, obviously, but a lot of sellers don't do any like true due diligence into like what's really going to work for exactly what you're looking for. So how did you finally narrow down who you were going to go with for manufacturing?
Yeah, so we reached out to dozens. I mean,
Forever.
we vetted so many manufacturers. We visited their facility, and it was so hard because when we were going through the sampling process, it was like no one could get it right, and they would always start putting chemicals back in there. We're like, no, so it took us so long. That's why it took us 2 years. But finally, after dozens, we finally found someone that that aligned with our brand, and so we went with them, and then we continued to use them, but now we've gotten to a point where we needed someone that's bigger, that could grow with us. So now we moved over to somewhere in California.
Yeah, and we're tying to this manufacturer that produces a lot of big hitters in the beauty space. So we're super excited about that, especially as we go from a one product company to a real company, so to speak, where we have more SKUs, more products. But we're doing it slowly, and I think that's the key.
Well,
That we had such crazy growth. We're like, okay, we got to slow down a
yeah.
lot.
I was gonna say slow-ish because
Oh,
the
yeah.
to clear 7 figures in your first year is not a thing usually.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me to my next question is, you're going into the beauty space, you're going into, the area of like, skincare. To say it's competitive is an understatement. Like there's so many out there. So obviously the application of your product is a big differentiator. And the fact that it's, I guess someone referred to as like it's clean ingredients, or it's all stuff that you can pronounce, and you're not getting a bunch of random chemicals and stuff. But outside of that, like what would you say is the thing that's really allowed you to differentiate yourself, that has allowed you to grow as fast as you did?
I would say, and I mean, you've probably heard this before, but honestly, sharing our story. So this is how we started. We started on the couch. Lynda looks over at me and she's like, "Hey, let's start a company." Okay, sure. I had a career. I have a career, or I had a career. I just retired from my full time job.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, and so we're doing this full time, and it was literally my dream job. So I'm a pharmacist by trade, Lynda mentioned, but I'm my previous role was the pharmacist for Delta Airlines. So all my pages were with executives, corporate personnel, and I was there for 12 years. And to let the go of February of this year was a big change for me. Over a decade of my life serving those patients, right? Um, so going back to that point, we had such a crazy year, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that had to do with our social presence, right? And sharing the story on the social presence. And I know everyone is starting to figure out TikTok, but I think we have a leg up on them. A lot of companies. We actually got reached out to TikTok for a couple opportunities to speak at different conferences and events because they're really pushing their SMB, right?
Yeah.
But just sharing that story, really understanding that platform is huge for companies if they can get it. That's honestly what put us on the map. That's actually what got us on the Today Show, where Al Roker said our tagline, which is crazy to me, but it got us in Cosmo. It got us on Shark Tank. Shark Tank found us from that.
Mm-hmm.
So all these big PR moves, which we didn't pay for, totally free. And we've paid for PR before and got nothing, no results. As soon as we stopped that and we started doing our own organic and sharing it on TikTok, videos after videos, it would go viral. And honestly, the secret sauce is Lynda, because I will post a video and I'll get like 300 views. She'll post a video, 4.5 million. You're like, what's going on here? Which is great because then you'll just see sales like skyrocket. So
Yeah. And to kind of like echo what Paul was saying about our story, this is a product that is really close to my heart because I grew up with acne. I was really like self-conscious about the way that I looked, my skin. We give back a lot. So we partnered with a charity that's called Project Beauty Share, and they give back to like domestic homeless,
abuse,
abuse.
yeah.
And so that's really important to us. We wanted to make sure that our brand gives back, and we had a mission to help women with like their confidence and stuff. So that's also what makes us different.
Yeah. And even our story, it's Love and Pebble, which, if you didn't catch it, it's Lynda and Paul, and that's the name of our brand. And it has to do with penguins. And the story is like in the wild, penguins, the male penguin will look for a pebble like tirelessly. And then when he finds one, he hands it to his mate. And if she accepts, they're mated for life. And honestly, this business for me is my pebble to Lynda when we first started. That is our story. And, that this is where we're going to take it. I started this company and I never thought I would exit from my other role that I thought I would. But I started this company for you, and we're going places. And it's been crazy. It's been just sharing that and just living that as our company. I think that's what sets us apart from other companies.
Yeah. And the story is obviously amazing. The name and the story behind the name is fantastic, and then it lines up with your names is great. I love that. What is it about the like your approach to TikTok that allowed you to go that fast? Like, obviously, I know it's you guys telling your story, but how have you been doing that? What were you able to realize is what people wanted on TikTok?
Yeah, just being authentic and unfiltered. I
Yeah.
think that's what really worked for us because we don't have the biggest budget to have like this production team that will do the best photos and have the best like the hottest models. Like we don't have that. We're showing real people, real skin. I put up a video of my mom's before and after using the pops, and it was just like you see that this is real results. And even sharing my story, like what my acne journey was like, and then now like how it improved my skin. And it's just like I think that's what TikTok appreciates. It's the
Yeah.
authenticity, no filters. Like you'll see me in my kitchen or you'll see me in my bathroom. It's not like a studio.
Yeah.
So I think that's really helped us, sharing our story, like how we started in our kitchen, and we evolved into now with like a manufacturer, Paul being a pharmacist, just all of that together. And I think they really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what got you to try TikTok? Because almost everyone nowadays, they're still like Facebook, Instagram. Getting them to even attempt TikTok is like pulling teeth. Like, and a lot of people obviously are saying, it's like the Wild West right now. It's like the beginning of Facebook times on TikTok. And yet, for some reasons, people are still hesitant to go try it. What got you to agree, like, no, we're going there?
I have to give all the credit to Paul because he was scrolling like he when TikTok first came out, he was scrolling, and I was like, what are you doing? What is this? Like I wasn't interested because I get pretty comfortable with whatever
Instagram.
platform I'm
Yeah.
using, which was
Yeah.
Instagram. He's like, no, you need to get on this, and I was like, okay, whatever, but one influencer posted our video that went completely viral, and then Paul was just like, Lynda, you need to really get on, like please just get on. So I started doing some videos, and I would get like only a couple hundred views, and it was just kind of like discouraging, and I'm like, this is not going to work, like it's almost too late.
It's a waste of my time.
Yeah, it was a waste
like,
of my time. He's like, do it every day, please, just every day for a month and see what happens. Posted a video of my mom that had 4 million views. We sold out like within like 4 days. So then I was like, okay, this is fun now. Within that, just my mom's video going viral, we got like 50,000 followers. So I was like, wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And so then I was like, and so he's always telling me like, be consistent, just post, share our story every single day. And I'm like, okay, fine, like,
And the day she doesn't do it, I like get onto her, which I'm pretty sure is annoying, especially with her being pregnant. But I'm like, it's one of those things you have to do. I mean, Gary Vee says he's like, you got to post every day, and it's true. Honestly, it's true. I don't know what it is with maybe the algorithm, but
there's nothing like TikTok. I
yeah,
mean, right now, it's like other platforms. It's great, but it's like I don't get as many like views or followers as I do with TikTok. So
yeah.
Yeah. And
it
is it
just
all organic, or are you advertising as well?
So that's last year. It was all organic. We really didn't set up anything, and actually, we were paying agency, right, to do Facebook and Instagram and Google. Terrible. Like we've been through
Really?
5 agencies. Like
Oh,
zero sales until like we aired on Shark Tank, and of course, everyone's going to get sales, right? Because
yeah.
it's already it's out there. So um, that's our next move as a company. I think as a company, we narrowed it down to like a couple problems that we had. One is supply chain, which we fixed, and then the second one is just marketing, right? And so last year, and this is what the sharks told us too. They're like, "Well, you guys went viral, but we can't really depend on viralness, right?" And so we were kind of like, okay, maybe they're right, But actually, I'm going to push back, and this is what we're finding now, especially towards the end of the first quarter, is that viralness actually on TikTok and the way their ads platform is set up, and it's by no means as advanced as Facebook's like iterations, right? but it was its purpose, because what we're starting to do now is drive all of our organic, which we have huge like impact, and then retarget and really follow up with good ads on TikTok, and that's what's been working. That's the only platform that we see a pretty good positive role. We basically paused like Facebook and Instagram and allocated all of our budget to Instagram. So that's our evolution as a business. You know, before we're like, okay, cool, organic, great. That's sales, and like 90% of our sales from organic, but we're leaving a lot on the table. So now we're getting those sales and then getting that retarget and then sending them all into our funnel, SMS, email, all that stuff is set up now. So
you went through 5 agencies.
Oh yeah, that's not even exaggerating. Like it was so hard to find someone that to work with us.
Yeah, and then even now, like when we go viral, we're like, if we know the product has market
there's a
fit,
demand, yeah,
right, and that's everyone's question. We know it goes well, but we just don't understand what the disconnect is. And I know there's everyone is like iOS updates, but I don't believe that is the issue. It's a level playing field, right?
Yeah.
It's a level playing field. It's what we came up with is it's creative and it's knowing your audience. And that's always been marketing. Yeah. But the good companies and that are doing it well, which the TikTok ads I'm actually doing myself. I mean, that's what they understand, right? So
yeah. As an agency owner, that hurts to hear that you had to go through 5 of them to realize, like, screw it, I'm keeping it in house.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
It was it was rough.
So you had mentioned before, Shark Tank reached out to you to be on the show.
Yep, we thought it was fake.
I've never heard that before.
This is the crazy story. Let me say, we were in Kendra Scott's store, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's a guest judge from time to time. So I look over to, and we're big Shark Tank fans, right? So I look over to Lynn. I'm like, look, we're going to be on Shark Tank. And then a week later, someone calls us, and I'm like, okay, someone heard me in the store, and they're going to take all our Social Security and like take all our money, and I was like, this is not real. And then it was real. It was a producer. And then we went through 1 interview, 2 interview, like 3 or 4. And then next thing you know, we're flying out to LA to film. So it was wild.
That is insane. I've never heard anyone be contacted to be on the show. So what was that whole process like? How'd the show go? How were sales once it aired? Like what was that like?
It was a long process. I mean, they require a lot of like paperwork. They have to, do their due diligence and make sure everything's, like accurate. So just the paperwork process and practicing our pitch, all of that took a lot of time. So I'd say from the time we were reached out to the time we actually aired was probably 4 months.
4 months, yeah.
Yeah, 4 months.
Wow.
And then when they finally flew us out and we pitched, that moment was so surreal. We were like, there's lots of adrenaline. We didn't sleep the night before.
Yeah, we couldn't. They flew us out, and then they tested us for COVID, and then they put us on the show. We're like,
and we were up by like 3 a.m. just like prepping everything, making sure that we had like all of our samples ready. And then we went into the production, like the studio at like 5 a.m. And then we were waiting, and then we didn't get to pitch until 1. So it was just really exhausting. But I mean, when you're having all that adrenaline, it's like you don't feel it. But after pitching the show, I mean, I felt like a train wreck. I just literally.
We didn't get a deal.
Yeah, we didn't get a deal. We were devastated.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I was like a train wreck. I just like fell over and just laid in bed all day because I was so tired.
It was crazy. We went in there not thinking that we would not get a deal.
Yeah, there was like no doubt in my mind that we were not going to get a deal.
Because we were scrambling. Like today, the Today Show aired us that week when we're flying out. Mm-hmm. And we were scrambling to get like that set up. And then we're on the airplane, like talking to producers of the Today Show. And then when we're like, all right, we got this. Like, we're going to blow up. And then, I mean, one by one, they just kept falling. And then, I mean, the thing is, I guess what they don't tell you is it is a TV show, right? So they only air what, like 7 to 10 minutes, but we were in
Yeah.
there for like an hour or two.
Hmm.
Um, but honestly, the experience, like the information that they gave us was so invaluable. It was like
Yeah.
to this day. I mean, that's why I think we're doing what we're doing in a lot of our businesses, our business moves, and it's because of like talking to Mark Cuban, which is priceless in itself, right? I mean, his knowledge is crazy, and one of the biggest things that we will to this day kind of tell everybody is like grow slow, because when we grew last year, we didn't have supply chain, we didn't have our customer service set up, it was a crazy year. It was a great year, big problem to have, great problem to have, but grow slow. And so we took a step back this year and just really focusing on like taking diligent steps to further this business.
Yeah. It's a marathon, not a race.
Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly.
What so you didn't get a deal. That happens. It is what it is. Did you end up then going out and seeking investment? Were you contacted by anyone for investment? I know that happens a lot. Like what ended up, how did you end up kind of dealing with that afterwards?
We were definitely contacted by a lot
So
of
many.
investors, but we realized that like Paul said, we needed to take time to rebuild everything because we were really reactive and not proactive. So we
Yeah.
didn't have everything set in place. So we were just like, let's wait. I mean, I think eventually we would explore that idea, but right now we're just like, let's get everything back. Like, let's make sure that everything's solid so that we're not trying to catch up, or like before with our supply chain, it was just like madness.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like we have everything in place, and I think pretty soon we're going to start talking about that again.
Yeah. And we didn't really need the funds, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
Lynda sold our house. We totally bootstrapped it, and we wanted it that way. And so that's kind of where we're at, and we were just kind of reinvesting profits. What we were really excited about was just the connections, right? So
Yeah.
any investor that we do take on has to have those connections, and that's honestly what we're looking for, because the cash flow is there. I think we structured the business pretty well to have enough cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know at some point we'll hit and we're already starting to see it. We're kind of nervous by HSN. If it blows up, like where's that inventory going to come from?
Yeah.
Like, and so that's when it blows up. Let me change that.
Yeah.
When it blows
There
up,
you go.
it's going to require capital, and then that's when we'll have discussions.
Yeah, and so like we going on the show, we really wanted like Lori, and she always says we're gonna blitz the market, and that's
Yeah.
what we were
Mm-hmm.
really like looking forward to. But going back, like Mark Cuban said to us, he was like, like take your time, we always say grow slow, because it's like like once you have everything in place, then you can blitz the market. And that's why it's like, we really wanted to just like go ham, but we realized like we can't handle that. And I think that's what happens when like start a new business. Like you don't realize that it's like, there's more to it than just blitzing the markers, selling. Like you have to take your time and build up.
And organize the business.
Yeah.
But by the end of this year, we will be ready.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
What's your supply chain process like? Like what kind of issues have you guys had? I know some of it's here in California now, but have you had issues with shipping and fulfillment and all that fun stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's across the board. I mean, prices are higher, shipping delays are more, getting some of our raws in. But
our product being so unique requires a lot of like accessories, and it's like a kit. So having someone to help us, make the product, put it together, and then just during COVID, there were a lot of like delays. So
yeah,
that was part of why.
but we've solved it. We've moved to bigger manufacturing that can handle production. And so, but will we be a part of like the supply chain pains? Yes, I think across the board. And once again, it's like the iOS update. It's still level playing field for everybody.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'm really proud about us is we moved a lot of our production to US, which is the hardest thing to do, but it's the thing to do to fix that supply chain issue. So we still have a couple of like components, overseas, but
Yeah.
most of our product is done here in California. So that'll drastically help our supply chain.
Yeah. So, in the past year, you were able to scale past seven figures, which is nuts. What do you think is going to be the thing that helps you get past, like, let's say that 8-figure mark? Like, I know you have some new products coming down the pipeline and working on that, but what do you think is going to be the main driver for you guys to get over that next hurdle?
Yeah, I think it's two things. One is the supply chain. Two, or three things. Two is launching new SKUs, which
Hmm.
everyone's been asking for. And three, honestly, it's nurturing that customer base, right? And just building upon that. I think we have a pretty good head start on it.
Hmm.
But I think every company, whether it's, the big companies like Glossier or Glow Recipe or all the ones that we look up to, I think that's what they do the best
Yeah.
at compared to other companies, and we're going to follow suit. I think when we launched this product, it was so funny. When we first did our beauty pops, we would do these. They're called we call them beauty pop ups around Atlanta.
Hmm.
So we would just go around to different like beauty salons and stuff like, and just like have our little cart. It's like a little ice cream cart, and we'd freeze them and say, "Hey, you want to try this?" I remember the first time we walked up to someone, we were like, "Hey, look, check this out. This is a beauty pop. It's the best thing ever." And then the lady literally just like laughed in our face, was like, "That is the stupidest idea, right?" And we were just like crushed. We were just like, "Oh my god, just all right, just close it up. We're not going to do anything."
Yeah.
But
She
since
was
then,
wrong.
yeah, since then, going viral, getting exposure like that, and the feedback from the customers, we're redoing everything for our customers, and I think that's the focus of our business.
Yeah.
Getting them, interactions that will help them further fall in love with us. That's the key. That'll get us to the 10
I think when that happened, that kind of lit a fire in us too, where we're like, "Oh, we're going to
Yeah,
show her."
I'll show you.
Yeah, and it's just like after that. I mean, we were featured in so many places, being
Yeah.
on Shark Tank, and it was just such a good feeling knowing that like people love our product. So, really happy
Hope,
about that.
hopefully she watches Shark Tank and she saw
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it.
we should actually do that. So like there's a couple companies that have been on Shark Tank, and after they air and don't get a deal, they'll like hire a big billboard and say like, "Mr. Wonderful, you are wrong. 10 million sold later," right?
yeah.
So we're like, we really want to do that, but you know what? We should change that up and put like, "Hey, lady, we got to find her name.
Yeah.
Hey, you were so wrong," and then just
Yeah.
have it in the billboard on the main street in Atlanta.
Yeah.
That could work.
Yeah.
Guerrilla marketing, love it. Any
Yep.
thoughts into going into like retail or anything along those lines?
Yeah, I mean that's always been a dream of mine, but even being on the show, like Mark Cuban was like, a lot of young like businesses get really starry eyed, and they're like,
Mhm.
whoa, we're in retail, but it's a lot more, and it's a lot harder than we think, just managing everything. So, I mean, I think we're still interested. I think that we do have a product that would be a good fit for retail, but I think I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure all of that out.
Mhm.
Yeah, we had an opportunity. So we're partnering with Urban Outfitters right now,
Mhm.
and we're on their .com. But we actually launched in a couple stores, but we launched in 2020, so it
Mm.
didn't do well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're okay with it. I think honestly, a lot of the retail space that we're starting to figure out is like it's more of an ego thing, to be like,
Mhm.
yeah, this, yeah, it will boost sales and grow sales, but it's its own beast. And right now, I mean, the margins are better at DTC. We control that customer base, right, and we really own it. And I think once we have that to grow that into something like huge, I think they'll start reaching out to us, and that's our play to get into retail. So we'll know when we're ready when they start calling us. And I think that's when.
I think it has to work together. Like you can't just be in retail and expect that sales are just going to come
Yeah.
in. Like you still need to have that marketing, and people need to have that brand awareness.
Yep.
So one thing that I do love about retail is just like brand discovery, and people can test out your product and see and feel, which they don't get online. But it's just having that balance, I guess, where you do both.
Yep.
Yeah,
work
I agree.
together.
Lynda, Paul, really appreciate having you guys on the show. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you guys are super busy, but love to give you guys another minute here. Please let everyone know where they can find out more about you guys, more about Love and Pebble, and we'll call it a day.
So yeah, you can find us on loveandpebble.com. That's our website. We also are on Amazon, and then we also are sold in Urban Outfitters. We will be airing on HSN sometime in June. So that's really exciting for us. But yeah, so mainly and also follow us on social, follow us on our TikTok, and you'll love all the comments.
Yeah, we're
videos.
Instagram, TikTok, and it's just Love and Pebble.
Perfect. Lynda, Paul, really appreciate having you guys on the show. Thank you so much for joining me. Everyone who tuned in, of course, thank you as well. Please make sure you head over to any podcast platform that you prefer to rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff, or on YouTube or on the ecommshow.com. But per usual, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ecomm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The Ecomm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of The Ecomm Show.